Oh, how's it going, everybody? As we kick off another Emerald City Hockey Postgame Live, presented by Queen Anne Beer Hall. Oh man, the curse lives. I mean, I already see all the comments in there about it, and it's hard not to be there right there with you all in terms of the curse of the jersey, maybe a little bit, and then of course curse of the postgame live. Really hoping that since we were on Wednesday this week, it would not be cursed. Unfortunately, here we are as the Kraken fall 3-2 to the Dallas Stars in this one. That being said, it was a very good game. It's a close game. Kraken did a great job of hanging in there through things. I will say this, just to kick things off. I promise, I don't know that we'll be able to necessarily do it soon just because of the holidays and everything like that. But I promise a thorough review of when Postgame Live is in light of the curse and everything that's going on, as even Climate Pledge Arena is letting out a big exhale there. I promise that is going to happen at this point for the curse. And, you know, we know lots of people want post-game lives to be more regular and all that kind of stuff. So I promise we'll review things, but no promises on when the timeline for that is gonna take place. But look, before we get going, too far down curses and all of that kind of stuff. I thought the Kraken still played very well in this one. There were some things that definitely needed to be better at times, but you know what? They were taking on a very good Dallas Stars team. Get back from the road trip, going into the holiday. Losing 3-2 to a team like this is not that bad, I think. So I don't think that it's too bad. Just saying. All right, so I'm going to get into the comments here. And again, one more reminder, this Postgame Live is brought to you all by Queen Anne Beer Hall. So you can head down there, get your $5 smash burger if you're at the game tonight. Take your gravy boat Zamboni. I'm just going to call it the gravy Zamboni. Take that down to the beer hall. Maybe they'll fill it up with something good for you. Who knows? No promises there, but try. But huge shout out to them. Had a great time at the watch party the other day with as many of you that could make it. And then a reminder that we have that next one coming up on December 4th. So not too far away before we're going to be back there at the beer hall for another watch party. General Pancakes kicking us off. Another game, another offensive flop. Look, they at least got some shots on goal in this one. I mean, I'm looking at the Twins, 28 shots for the Kraken in this one. That's a lot for this team. So I'll take that personally. And, you pick up a pair of goals. Yes, it's from the defenseman. That is still something that needs to be addressed, is that you're relying basically on your defenders to step up and score when you need a goal. It's probably not the most reliable strategy, if we're being honest, right? They need to find some way of the forward group getting going. Jared McCann makes his return tonight. He had some very good opportunities, particularly in tight around the net. I think he's going to make a big difference once he kind of gets back up to speed. Unfortunately, right, he took that early high stick. That had him out for a little while. Then he had that weird play a little bit later on in the third period. Didn't look like a high stick to me. It looked like he either hit the crossbar with his face or the puck maybe bounced off the crossbar and hit his face. It was a little tough to tell based on where we were, but I don't believe that it was a second high stick. Dude was just taking shots though all night long. And so that was an issue, but I think that he already showed like some of what this Kraken group at forward is missing, that willingness to drive to the net and then make plays once he was in there, right? I mean, he uses his hands, make skilled plays, able to collect pucks, get shots on net from extremely close to Casey DeSmith. That is something that the Kraken have been missing. They've been, finding guys that could get backdoor, right? Jaden Schwartz loves to be backdoor, and we'll get to him because he had to leave this one, unfortunately, due to injury. You have other players that'll get backdoor, but you don't have somebody who's really like looking to make a set play like right in front of the net, or who can go in there and use those quick hands and try to get a puck, turned over, rolled out, and then make that play. So I think having Jared McCann back is going to give the forward group a little versatility that it was lacking without him. And, he's also just a fantastic player. I think he needs to get the one-timer redialed in and recalibrated on the power play. That was something that they were going for a lot, was that one-timer from him. And unfortunately, he was just kind of missing the net with it in this one. I think that's partly why the power play kind of had the struggles that they had in this one. But I think that that's, again, one of those things that give him 2, 3, 4 games, it's going to be back. We know who Jared McCann is and what he can do and what he's going to go out there hoping to do. So do they need to find ways to score more than 2 in a game consistently? Yeah. Is their total goals for on the season shockingly close to just the goal differential for the Colorado Avalanche? Yeah, it is. Trust me. Don't look it up. That being said, I didn't mind the offensive effort in this one tonight. Would hope, though, for a power play goal, but I know that there's some comments coming up about that, and so we'll get there when we get there. Trish, I guess Tuesday's Eve is also cursed. Yes, Tuesday's Eve being tonight was also cursed. Again, we're going to have to deal with it. Jake talked about the curse living on. General Pancakes, I think that Gary Bettman should outlaw DeSmith starting against us. I think this might be DeSmith's worst start against the Kraken, too, which is crazy because he only allowed 2 goals on 28 shots. But he had a perfect 1 goals against average facing the Kraken. I don't know that the Kraken ever scored more than 1 on him, or if they did, then there was a shutout in there that balanced it out. But they were able to double their average against Casey DeSmith tonight. So there is something there. And you know what? Honestly, I thought Casey DeSmith struggled a little bit in this one. There was a lot of rebounds that he was giving up, and it looked like at times it was hard for him to kind of see the puck. Certainly off those rebounds, he did not always know where it was, and it was just Kraken either weren't getting those bounces or they just weren't able to outbattle the Dallas defense to get to those loose pucks in front of him there. But it was not a strong performance from Casey DeSmith, in my opinion. Got Honeybee here. 3rd jersey curse, post-game live curse. Where's the Etsy Witch when you need them? There's a lot coming together in this one, not gonna lie. That move by Little Cat late in the 3rd was excellent, even if he didn't score a goal. That's from Kraken Queen. Yeah, RJ and I were talking. RJ, I'll give credit to him. He's the one who brought it up, and I think I agree with him. Maybe best game for Berkeley Catton since he's been a Seattle Kraken, since he's been up with the main NHL squad. He looked fantastic in this one. He had energy. He had some pep in his step. He was making really smart plays with the puck. He was trying to set up Jared McCann. That line looked pretty good. Like, probably one of the best games from Shane Wright as well. So those guys being with Jared McCann, I liked what I saw from them. I think that that's something that as they play more together, they're going to be able to grow a little bit more, build some chemistry, all that kind of stuff. And I think that's a line that we might see some stuff from. So I thought that was a very good line. I thought that Berkeley Catton played fantastic in this one. Lots of little plays that we were noticing where we were like, okay. Like they were more than just the standard, this is what you have to do in that scenario. It was, him making plays that are kind of getting into that next tier of those, either setting guys up or plays away from the puck. So thought that was cool. And we definitely were appreciative of the game that he was able to put together tonight. And then here it is, General Pancakes, obligatory 0 for 5 on the power play. So yeah, this is something that the Kraken need to figure out. And I already mentioned Jared McCann's one-timer. I think that they were looking for that early on for that first power play, that first, the double minor that they had at the beginning of the game. So that was 2 of the 5 power plays right there. A minute in, you get that opportunity. I mean, great way to start the game and try to build some momentum if you're the Kraken. They were looking for that Jared McCann one-timer. It was there. He unfortunately, again, he's been back for like a minute, and during that minute, he got smacked in the face. So, the one-timer was not exactly super calibrated and on net for Jared McCann for those first 2 power plays. And then after that, the Kraken were looking for that play. They were looking for that set play to him, and Dallas was just taking it away. They knew that it was coming. They knew that that's what they was, being expected. And they were taking it away, and they were very much telling the Kraken, hey, look, try to beat us on this power play anywhere else. And that was when the Kraken kind of stalled out. And then I think you saw another good power play there, in part because of just the amount of time left. And the Kraken knew they had to be desperate, and they were trying to work the puck down low for that final power play there with, just a couple minutes left in the game and down by a goal. That's honestly, I think, something that I'd like to see the Kraken do just a little bit more often on the power play. Like once that Jared McCann one timer was taken away after those first two power plays. So the next two power plays that you have throughout the game, try to work the puck down low a little bit. Like try to get down there, see what you can do, because you have a lot of good players around the net front. They're able to get in there, and especially if, in tonight's case it was Dallas, but if another team's going to really sell out to try to sit in that passing lane and take away Jared McCann's one-timer, that was forcing one of their four guys decent ways away from the net, because they have to play pretty high up there. They got to be able to take out that passing lane, and usually it's not their most aggressive PKer. So it's really easy to have a 3-on-2 advantage down low on the power play if a PK is going to sell out to try to stop that. I would love to see the Kraken work that puck down low, try to grind something out there, take advantage of the fact that you're just going to have a numbers advantage for anything that starts bouncing around the crease. That would be like my suggestion for kind of a way to handle the situation there with the power play, and hopefully not have any more 0 for 5 nights like tonight. Yeah, be talking about that as well. Someone make a curse emote for the Discord from Wisconsin Kraken fan. Oh no, I hate that this has just become the brand now for Postgame Live. Just call it the Postgame curse. We'll just rebrand the show, all of that, right? Oh man. But we do get the welcome back canner there. Becca, yeah, no, really happy that he was back. And again, he looked good in this one. Think that he was not quite 100%, or not everything was dialed in, but still thought he looked very good in this one. Kraken need an old priest, a young priest, a live chicken, and a bucket of chicken to break the ECH curse. We do need a lot, unfortunately. It does kind of feel that way. Not gonna lie. We'll see kind of where they go from here. Again, we're gonna look into it. We have to at this point. We just have to. Dave here with the super chat. Big thank you, Dave. Really appreciate that. Hello, everyone. I hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving with incredible food and zero family drama. That is the thing to wish for sure. Thank you. So stoked that Father Canner is back also, because it'll push Marchman off the first line. Appreciate you, Dylan and Chad. Appreciate you, Dave. Appreciate everybody who's able to make it. Again, I know this time of year it could be tough to join post game, something like that, but RJ and I are both extremely grateful to have this awesome community and all of you in here, and especially thanks to you, Dave, there for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, Jared McCann coming back. I feel like I've already talked a ton about him, so I won't spend too really any more time on him. But I just he's gonna make a difference for this team, as we're talking about them being such a low goal scoring team. Like, is he going to turn things around and all of a sudden they're going to be in like the top half of the league in goals for? No, he's not going to make that big a difference. But I really do think like he brings a level of consistency as far as generating offense, and particularly generating that offense in and around the net, that this team is going to, or already does kind of desperately need to, I think, just kind of make some of their chances, some of the underlying numbers and everything like that feel a little bit more sustainable, and just kind of give them that ability each and every night to not necessarily have to rely on a game being 1-1 and going to overtime or something like that. And I think that that's the role that Jared McCann needs to play. And I think that it's one that he is very capable of playing with this group. Looks like George agreeing with Catton looking legit tonight. I mean, everybody, Russ, Sean, talking about how much Berkeley Catton looked good tonight, and I definitely think so. And then Jason also saying, I thought this was the best game of the season from Tolvanen and Catton tonight. Like seeing Tolvi let the puck rip more aggressively. I feel like players are starting to mesh better with Catton. I mean, I talked about Berkeley Catton already. We all up here thought it was a really great game from him. Ellie Tolvanen, I thought this was an interesting game from Ellie Tolvanen, because I didn't notice him a ton. I'll be honest with you, but it felt like he did his job a lot, right? Like as far as making space for the guys around him in the lineup, making space for his lineup, getting in front of Casey DeSmith's face, right? Like I wonder how many of those pucks that DeSmith was kind of having a hard time seeing and then allowing the rebounds because he wasn't able to really make the save clean. I wonder like how many of those could be kind of directly attributed to Eli Tolvanen. You'd have to go back and kind of check. But I did think that he looked pretty good. But that being said, it was also one of those nights where like I think he was doing a lot of the stuff that you just don't totally notice, and so it was kind of around everything else, kind of hard to fully appreciate it. But he was good. I definitely agree with you there, Jason. So much Catton love. General Pancakes. Catton is owed like 8 goals by now based off his play. Genuinely insane how poor his luck has been. Yeah, I thought he was going to get that one kind of off the redirect, off the Dallas defender. He kind of was banking it off of the Dallas defenseman's skate, and I thought that it might sneak past to Smith and kind of go for that far post. But unfortunately, that was a play in the first period. Did not go for him. It's kind of crazy that on this team where, they're kind of getting by on offensive luck, getting those puck bounces, getting those deflections. I mean, look no further than the Montour goal that he sent from the corner today, right? Getting that deflection off a Dallas player and going in. It's kind of unfortunate that it does feel like all of that positive luck for really the rest of the team is coming at the expense of Berkeley Catton absorbing all of the bad luck when it comes to shooting the puck and not getting any bounces to go his way. I'm with you, General Pancakes. Like I think at some point that switch is going to get flipped, and he's going to get some positive puck luck regression, and things are going to start going in for him. And I think it's going to be one of those cases, kind of like with a lot of the young guys we've seen who've come up and joined this Kraken team, come up through the organization. Once that first one goes, then you're kind of able to get more. I don't think it's going to be one of those things where we're going to see one goal from him and then it'll be like another 20 game stretch where we don't see anything. I really think that that's, it's going to be one of those, once the monkey's off his back, it's just going to like kind of lighten everything up for him. And that puck luck's going to regress in a good way for him. Cheryl's starting to see Catton's creativity and whatnot with his what his upside looks like. Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. Like he's starting to hit that next level where he's not just making the safe play or the right play. He's starting to make the fun, creative play, and I think that that's that extra dimension that he brings that just not a lot of players within this organization have. They have good players, they have skilled players, but we've never really talked about anybody on the Kraken roster as being a creative player. That's just not something that's really been in the cards for them these first 5 seasons. But Berkeley Catton is a creative player. I mean, that is where he butters his bread is by making plays and making things happen like that. And so exciting to kind of start to see that show from him. And again, as he spends more time in the NHL, as he plays up here longer, it's going to be easier and easier for him to make those plays. And that's when you're going to see then the production start to pick up and start to follow with that. And that's going to be a lot of fun to see from him. Got a super chat here from Audacious PNW. Seeing if there's a message. Feel free to put a message in if you want me to read something there. But thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Let me go back up to where I was there. Team just seemed to play better with McCann back from Cheryl. Yeah, it definitely, they felt like they did. It's, they, I think, like, again, he fixes a lot of what they're struggling to do. He's the guy that does it. I think there's a conversation to be had about why nobody else seemingly can step up and do what he does. So there's a level of it where he's just skilled to a level that not everybody else is. But it's also one of those where it's like, okay, somebody needs to kind of find a way to be that guy who can have a one-timer, who can go to the net front and play there and use their hands. You have guys on this team that have similar skill sets that I genuinely think from like a pure skill standpoint are not that far off of him, but they just don't put it together in the same way that he does. And they don't maybe have like the reaction times that he does, like the way he's able to bat pucks down to the ground or to the ice, and then he's able to make a play with them, stuff like that. I think lets him get away with some of those things that maybe the other guys can't. I don't know. So, but we'll see as things go on. But yeah, definitely, I think having him back is going to be a big boost for this group. Sean, if there was more of a net front presence tonight, the Kraken have at least a point. I think they did a pretty decent job with the net front presence. I mean, there was a couple times where, yeah, those rebounds are sitting there. Casey DeSmith's not able to make that save clean, and there's an opportunity there, and you weren't quite able to do it. I think, like I said earlier, the power play is the place where I wanted to see more of that net front presence. I think that's really where you see then that difference and where things could have happened. And you pick up a goal there, you go 1 for 5 instead of 0 for 5. This game's probably at least tied, or maybe then that third goal doesn't even happen, right? Something like that. So I'm with you that, like, yeah, they probably do get a point if they get more of that net front presence in certain situations, but then in other situations they had it. And so it's kind of tough to tell. And again, Canner's going to help a lot with that. Even my fault. I was there in real life, IRL. I should have just said IRL. 6-17 IRL record. I'm sorry. That is tough. That is tough. I mean, I don't know how many of us have positive records, to be perfectly honest, just because this is a team that has not had a lot of winning seasons, right? So I don't, if it helps, I don't think you're alone, and I don't think that it's your fault, because my guess is if you were to canvass a lot of people who have gone to games over the years, they would also not have a record that's that favorable. Just saying. If hopefully that helps. Favorite goal from Zoe. I mean, I'll wait for RJ. It's hard not to go with that Vince Dunn one though, just because it was just such a snipe. Like, what a snipe from Vince Dunn on that. You know what I mean? Just kind of goes a little bit coast to coast. Didn't even get that far into the offensive zone. Just saw that he had that corner from DeSmith, and he just let it rip, and there it was. I like that. I like the net front presence on the Montour goal though too, and kind of crashing the net there and getting the bounce a little bit, forcing really what it was forcing the Dallas D to get back, and then he's able to bank it off of them. But yeah, I think I have to go with the skill play from Vince Dunn. Jason, the offense needs what Ferkus is doing in the AHL, but can he do it in the NHL? This is the question with Jagger Ferkus, right? And I know that we've been talking up here on the press bridge with other members of the media, and it's not everybody thinks that he can, I guess I'll say, right? Like it's definitely a question that a lot of us have, and nobody kind of has a clear answer on it. I think all of us, even whether it's those of us that think that he could, know that it will be a struggle. And it's one of those things where I think, just like with Berkeley Catton, how we're seeing it's taken about 20 games for him to start feeling comfortable and confident enough to open up his game and start playing creatively. I think you're looking at something similar with Jagger Ferkus, where it's going to take him a decent amount of time just to understand the spots on the ice that he can be in, where he's not going to just get pushed around, right? Or just physically moved out of the way. And I think that we saw that really with him last year in the AHL, and then him understanding those spots this year. And I talked about this on one of my last couple prospect chats when we were looking at him. Last year, he was trying to set up in Coachella Valley in the same spots that he was setting up with in Moose Jaw, right, in junior. He was going to those same areas thinking that he could do his game. And the D is just a little bit better, right? They're a little bit faster, a little bit bigger. They were able to really take him out of those spots, and he had to spend all of last season learning what he could do and where his new spots could be, right? Where are the gaps then in defense at this next level? And then he was able to learn those late in the season last year. And then he was able to hit the ground running this year in the AHL, and obviously has the great numbers that he has this year. But it was really, a struggle. And it was a story of him adapting to that change in defense, going from junior to the AHL. And I think that a similar thing would have to happen for him, regardless of how good he ends up being as an NHL player. I think it's going to require a 40 to full season look for him to just kind of acclimate and understand where he can be and where he can't be, given his limitations in the size department. It's unfortunate that he can't just be himself, but given that he's kind of working there with that size discrepancy, it's just, I think, too hard. I think he has to try to find those gaps and sit in them the way that he does. Dave with another super chat. Thank you very much. We just have too many playmakers and not enough shooters. One thing I want to see is not just net front presence. I want to see goalie screens other than Schwartz, and he's out with a lower body injury. Yeah, I was going to say we could wait for RJ. We know that Lane Lambert's not going to say anything tonight about the status of Jaden Schwartz. All we know is his leg kind of got rolled up on there when he was battling net front, and he left the game with a lower body injury, we're assuming, and that he did not return I mean, fingers crossed, obviously, for Jaden Schwartz. And I think that Jaden Schwartz is a good net front guy. He's a great backdoor guy. I think Ellie Tolvanen, like I talked about earlier, really good net front player. Yeah, they need more. They need to shoot more. I mean, Lane Lambert talked about that with RJ yesterday at practice. Yeah, it was yesterday. I mean, he talked about it with the whole media group, but it was like 3 people. And even it sounded like Lane Lambert was kind of like, look, these guys need to shoot more. Like it sounds like the message is coming from him that the shots need to happen, that yes, there's value in waiting and trying to find a really good look and opportunity, but at the same time, you just got to send it every once in a while. And it sounded like, to me anyway, listening back to the audio after the fact, that was kind of where Lane Lambert was coming from. And, the team was able to get 28 shots today. Some of that's obviously helped by the fact that you were on the power play 5 times. The other team didn't get a lot of power play opportunities, which, hey, good. You were disciplined. But I definitely think that was part of it. And I'm with you. Like, they need to shoot the puck more. They need to just kind of have that mentality to them. And they just never have, is the bottom line. This core has just never really had anything like that. So they're going to need to do that. Chris is back on from Stray Attic. No, we're hitting another group of the Cruises. Some talk about Mason Marchment kind of returning back to the Met play from Sean, and another one about him getting 18 minutes being that being too much. Look, he's another one where when he's on, he's really on, and the things that he's able to do are very beneficial to you, right? He's able to get under the other team's skin. He's able to draw penalties. Yes, sometimes he goes a little too far when trying to draw a penalty, and he gets that embellishment call. But there are positives that he brings. Is 18 minutes too much? Yeah, it probably is. Like Mason Marchment, I just don't think is a top 6 player. He's really more of a third liner who plays with an edge and then can flex up when there's an injury or something like that, which is essentially what he's doing right now, right? I think it's one of those where you're going to see that ice time go down as Jared McCann works back in. I think that they're trying to be cautious with Jared McCann, and why wouldn't you? It's a player that missed training camp, came back, and then basically immediately had to leave again, dealing with an injury to the same half of his body, right? Like how much of it is the same injury? Don't totally know, don't totally have confirmation on, but it's a reasonable assumption to make, I feel like. So it's one of those where Mason Marchment is getting these opportunities strictly because of the situation kind of around him. I think in a perfect world, even on this Kraken team, we're not going to see him in that spot all the time. And then I think also it allows him to shine a little bit more, because that kind of being a pest and being annoying and doing that kind of net front, net side role and everything like that, he's just going to be a lot more valuable to you getting third line minutes than trying to force him into a top 6 role where he's going to at times have to try to flex his way into a more of a skill-based game to match his line mates and match that role that you're giving him. And he's just not built for it, we'll say. Right. And I think that's what everybody's kind of getting at here. So we'll see. Let's see here. Well, I hated the outcome and a few missed calls. That was a great game to watch. I hope they keep the spirit in play when it comes time more games. Yeah, I did think that this was a far more entertaining game than what we've been used to with this Kraken team. I mean, it was certainly a more entertaining game than that last one against the Islanders, right? This was not super low event. There was times where Dallas was able to turn it really into a track meet, back and forth style game. That does not benefit the Kraken. The Kraken do need to be careful of that, because that was when Dallas was really starting to look dangerous, and I was getting nervous anyway. But it's one of those things that I think that, having Jared McCann back and kind of what he does to help fix the rest of the lineup. And that's only going to continue to improve as he gets more and more healthy. And of course, we'll see about Jaden Schwartz and how long he might be out. I think that that's going to help things a lot as far as being a little bit more high event in a positive direction, like tonight where the Kraken were able to outshoot Dallas by 7. So I'm with you. I think that there is something there. Let's see. The Dallas Divers were in full force. They were going for it. Refs weren't giving it to them though. Like, so that's, something, right? They only had the one power play look. So there's something there. All right. Safi Santana. I was hoping Lane would pull Joey during the last power play for a 6-on-4. I was kind of hoping the same thing. Like the one danger with pulling the goaltender while you have the power play is that the other team is still technically on the kill, which means they can send the puck down the ice and go for that empty netter without a fear of icing. And I think that that's what a lot of coaches kind of get hung up on is they don't want the other team just to have those free looks at an icing that and you're probably thinking, look, power play sitting at 20%, got a 1 in 5 chance of it going in. This is our 5th power play after all. So odds would say that we got to score eventually. And then you just kind of use it as an opportunity where when you do pull goalie as that penalty's kind of expiring, you just able to like hopefully keep up the positive momentum you've been building on the power play. And it's one of those where even if you don't score on the power play itself, having that pressure, forcing that team back on its heels where they're going to be start really making mistakes because they're playing in this kind of panicked, hectic way. And then all of a sudden you get that 6th attacker on. It's just too much, right? No team could kind of play at a man disadvantage for that many minutes on end and that's kind of what you go for. That being said, I thought about it too. I was like, okay, when there's like a minute left, and like the next time you're going for like a rush and you're able to kind of gain the zone, I would probably pull him and just really go for the win because Dallas was not really going for the full clear send it. Like they weren't really able to. The Kraken were doing a very good job of limiting what the PKers on Dallas were able to do as far as trying to clear the puck down the net, down the ice. So I think that it would have been maybe a little bit of a safer move to go ahead and pull that goalie. But of course, it probably would have and then immediately scored on it. So who knows? Who knows? All right. We've got RJ with us. All right. I'm going to add him in here. RJ, how's it going? What did the team have to say after this one?
Well, I mean, it was a close game. I think the team overall, was probably happy with the effort. Like this is a tough game against a really good team. A lot of compliments about the opponent, and I think rightfully so. They were playing against a really good Dallas Stars team. I think some of the guys, especially Vince Dunn, focused in on the mistakes. Said there were definitely a few plays he wanted back in this one, and I think that he's just that kind of player. Also, where he's going to focus on the mistakes in a game like this. But Lane Lambert liked the battle and liked to compete and everything. But it was pretty short on the the players' end and for the coaches. A lot of the time was just spent waiting for Lambert, but not a whole lot necessarily from the players. I think the most interesting thing from the players was, of course, Jared McCann coming back, said the legs felt pretty good. He's been doing bag skates with the coaches on the ice, so you have to keep him in condition and everything to come back. So he's feeling good after that one. He did have a chipped tooth. There was a picture, I think Sound of Hockey posted that captured it pretty darn well. He's got a chip on the tooth right there. But walking through the play, he just said, I'm battling for a loose puck. And next thing you know, your tooth's in your throat. And so pretty dramatic for him there, taking that high stick early on in this one. But just a tough game for Jared McCann's face. He also got high stick later in the game. The one where we thought he might have run into the crossbar, I think that was actually another high stick from one of the Stars players. So.
Yeah, no, it's a tough one, but seemed to make a big difference for this group. And we've spent a lot of time on here talking about Jared McCann, and I'll give you an opportunity to do so now as well. Just kind of what you think he adds to this team and what he allows this team to do when he's out there.
Well, I mean, there's the shooting mentality, number one. I think he's not afraid to throw pucks on net, and the Kraken had a higher shot total than they usually do in this one. I don't think that's a coincidence. And then also, the space that he opens up for, say, a Berkeley Catton or a Shane Wright when those three were together. And I really love that line. I'm sure you've raved about them already and how they played in this game. But Berkeley Catton just looks like a different player than what we've seen in previous games. I mean, the creativity, the ability to open things up with his passing. And I think a lot of that comes from having to respect Jared McCann if you're the Stars or if you're the opponent there, having to give a little bit more space. Whereas with other line mates on that line, whether it's a Freddie Gaudreau or, Winterton or whoever, you just don't have to give that kind of respect that you do with Jared McCann. So I thought he looked better. I thought Shane Wright looked better. And I mean, McCann seems to be the key to fixing that line.
Yeah, he does. And I talked about that too. I loved what they were looking like. I kind of hope that they stay together. We'll see about the Schwartz injury. And if they want to move Canner up the lineup a little bit more, bring down Mush, lower those minutes. Like we've gone over a lot of scenarios as far as where Jared McCann can go. I'll get to the super chat in a second there, Dave, but just because RJ brought up Berkeley Catton, and we've talked about him as well, we do have two questions on Berkeley Catton that I was going to ask next. And I think we'll just go ahead and stick with that real quick here. This one from Cheryl. With as leaky as Edmonton goalies are, do we think that might be the game for Catton's breakthrough, because we're talking about how it feels like, RJ, this whole team has great puck luck, and then all the bad luck when it comes to anything relating to shots going in has just been placed on poor young Berkeley's shoulders.
Yeah, he's the one player who's not getting insanely good puck luck, and I think he's generated a lot more. He deserves better based on what he's generated. I mean, if the Oilers game isn't the time for that to happen, I don't know what is. You're not going to get a much easier scenario the way the Oilers have been playing recently. I mean, everyone I'm sure knows about their loss to Dallas last night and how awful they looked. But yeah, Catton's going to get some chances. Certainly if they keep this line together, I could see that line just feasting on a very weak Oilers bottom six. And then, of course, whichever goalie's in net, they've both been terrible.
Yeah. And then this one from Jason. With Catton progressing in the NHL, will the Kraken not release him to World Juniors? And that is a question that we very much have. And I think a lot of us have up here on the media bridge.
Yeah, it's a big question. And I think the Kraken, it's going to come down to, I think, how much opportunity they feel they have for him in the lineup. If everybody is healthy, if say, Schwartz is a minor injury and he comes right back, if Kakko's back, maybe they feel like the games they'd give him wouldn't be the same as playing in the World Juniors, and that would benefit him more. But I think it might even come down to this Jaden Schwartz injury. We'll see how long he's potentially out for. I mean, Lane Lambert, of course, didn't give a status update as we would expect, but he just said the fact that he didn't return to the game is not a good sign. So we'll see. I think if Schwartz is out, you've got a spot for Berkeley Catton to play some larger minutes, and I would keep him around personally.
Yeah, I would too. And then here's the super chat from Dave. RJ, can't stop, won't stop. Have a happy Thanksgiving, RJ.
Thank you so much, Dave. Really appreciate the super chat. And Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. I've said it before on these post games and on the podcast, but absolutely love Thanksgiving. So I'm really happy right now knowing it's coming tomorrow.
Yeah. And then we got this one from Christian. Need more dirty goals. And a lot of the talk tonight has been about the net front presence from this team. And I actually think at times the net front presence was really there. For me, the one time it really wasn't there was on the power play. And it felt like Dallas trying to take away that Jared McCann one-timer. There were so many opportunities where you could have a man advantage down low. The Kraken just never took it. But your thoughts kind of overall on net front presence and how the Kraken are doing in that department?
Yeah, I am going to agree with you as far as just the 5-on-5 play. I thought they did a pretty good job. None of the goals, like you look at, the Montour goal, kind of throwing it off from wherever, but I think in a way it did result from some net front presence, if indirectly. Shane Wright had an even better chance right there on a rebound net front that easily could have been just chipped into the net. It was a good defensive play by whoever was on him. But I think they were getting guys into Smith's face. They just weren't able to kind of get those redirection screen opportunities as much as you'd like. I think DeSmith was also really good at finding the puck through traffic. I think that's something that maybe other goalies against the Kraken have struggled with. And that's why the Kraken are doing such a good job at finishing this season, is because those chances have gone in pretty consistently. Smith is really good at locating those shots when there's traffic from the point. And I know you want to make it so he can't locate them, but he seems better than most.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. And I think that's the other side of the coin, because I've been talking about how DeSmith, it felt like at times tonight, didn't really know where the puck was. And there was a lot of kind of dirty saves where he was making the save, but he was not able to really control it. It was not a clean save that he was able to make. I actually thought this was one of the worst games we've seen DeSmith have against the Kraken, but it's one of those where, maybe he's making a dirty save because he's just trying to track it through traffic, and he's just getting some part of it, right? He did make the save, which is what matters at the end of the day.
Well, that's what I think about, because remember, we've talked to Joey in the past, and I think he's been really good about giving us the information about how it really works. And a lot of those, more than you would ever think, are kind of guesses and putting your body in the right position where you're guessing the puck's going to be. And I guess that's kind of what I saw from DeSmith. It wasn't the clean glove saves where you see something through traffic and snatched out of the air. It was the correct guess of putting your body in the right situation. And I mean, I think of where DeSmith struggled in this one. I look at the Vince Dunn goal where he actually sees it pretty darn cleanly. That's the one I'd want back if I was him.
Is that your favorite goal of the night? Because we did talk favorite goal of the night. You got two to choose from.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm going to go with Montour. Definitely going to go with Montour's goal, because Dylan, you know this. You know me well enough. Forever, as a player, when I play in beer league, I will throw the puck on net from everywhere. Bad angle shots, I love them, and I love them when they go in because the goalie hates it. And so that was my favorite goal. It wasn't particularly close. As pretty as Vince Dunn's was, I like the Montour one.
Yeah, I took the skill play from Vince Dunn, but yes, you definitely play that.
You
way.
can have it.
You definitely enjoy playing that way. Doesn't matter how many open teammates you got. You got that low percentage shot. You're taking it. Kraken could use some of that mentality.
They should. They could.
Dave here. I see Marchment as a bit of a failed experiment. I'm sorry, but trade him, please. Even if he's on the third line, he is lazy. There's been some criticism for Mason Marchment in this one. I think, look, I talked about it. He's a third liner who has been elevated this year because of all the injuries. McCann's back, but maybe Schwartz is gone. I don't know. I just kind of view him as that. How do you kind of see him right now in the lineup?
I mean, I think that's a good assessment there, but also, and we've said from the start of the season, he's just not really a good fit systems-wise for how this team wants to play. I think he does provide some value and sometimes opening up some space for Matty Beniers. Like, that's the one guy I've seen him kind of click with. The problem is Matty Beniers is your 1C right now. And so if Mason Marchment is in those first-line assignments, that's kind of difficult. Like, I think ideally the way a team you'd want to be built is that Matty is like, your 2/3C, Marchment's on that line, opening up space for him, and they have some easier assignments. But it's not really going that way. And yeah, I mean, as far as the lazy thing, like, I don't even know that it's lazy. He's just not very fast. He is one of the slowest players in the NHL. The stride doesn't look good or pretty or clean because it's not. And so I think it's going to look lazy at times. I don't think he's a lazy player. He's just really slow.
He is. He is. From Christian here. Well, and first off, Christian, I do see your thing about your YouTube name being reverted back to the default. Everybody's has, at least from what I'm seeing, and so it has been a struggle. I know some of you and who you are, but if I say the wrong name, it's because it's all kind of messed up tonight. Who knows why? But from Christian here, haven't heard a word about the skills competition. What's going on with that? We have not either, as far as I know. My guess is we're not getting one, or I don't know. I don't think they're allowed to do it over the Olympic break because, like, you're probably not going to really be missing anybody for the Olympic break, but you're not allowed to do anything with them.
No, you're not, and I think that's a good thing that you can't. But I would love to see it. It's my favorite event of the year, and especially for fans being able to get in at more accessible price point. I think it's fantastic they do that. I would imagine they probably are not going to do it just because with the Olympic year, it's also a condensed schedule.
Yeah.
And, to add that on top of everything, I think the players probably would not be very into it, especially when you'd have to wedge it in at some point.
Yeah, I think the Olympics just kind of took it off the board for this year. It's understandable, and we get to watch Olympic hockey with NHL players in it for the first time in a long time. So, like, I am on board with that. It's just unfortunate that you have to make that trade-off. Cheryl, if we're in playoff contention, I don't think Mason Marchment gets traded. He's a pest, and that's what you need for playoff hockey. I mean, this is something, and we'll probably have more of a longer conversation at some point on a deep dive about it, because I know I've been seeing this pop up in different communities around social media for the Kraken. The idea of kind of what this team is going to do come trade deadline time. And I do think because of the way that they're trending right now, we probably just don't see any moves one way or the other.
That if what has happened so far kind of continues to the trade deadline, and yes, of course, it all depends where they're going to be in the standings, and there's so many games between now and then, and it could go a number of different ways. But I think, if they're roughly in this spot, tied second or third in the Pacific, maybe a couple points into a playoff spot, I don't see them selling. I think the organization, you talked about a little bit on the Armchair GM stream when you joined me last night about the bigger picture and the revenue and everything. Playoff games mean a lot more revenue for teams, and I don't think they're in a position where they feel like they can sell, even if it's to the advantage of the long term. If they feel like they're in it at all, they're not going to sell off, and I think that probably includes Mason Marchment. I mean, we saw how annoying he was to the Kraken when they did face the Stars in the playoffs a couple of years ago. I know Kraken fans were pretty annoyed with him. I mean, maybe over some diving, over some other stuff too, where he made good plays, but like that's what he can do in those times.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's one of those where, from a buying angle, this year, with all the teams being as bunched up as they are, with there being so many teams that are within just a couple points of going for it and making the playoffs, looking at it right now, there's like 3 obvious sellers for the deadline this year. Like the price of acquisition for even like a third liner this year is going to be so astronomically high that there's zero chance in my mind that the Kraken would be involved in really anything there. but it also means that, because of the fact that they're bottom 5, 6, 7 in revenue in the National Hockey League, because of all of those issues that they're having, I think they're absolutely going to want to keep the group together and go for it, even though it means like a year like this year, a player like Mason Marchment, Jaden Schwartz, Jordan Eberle, any of these guys on expiring contracts, you would get the most that you would have ever gotten for them really at any other point in recent memory, just because of how many teams are going to be looking to add and how few teams are actually in a spot to actually sell off. So it's one of those where, you might be passing up a really golden opportunity to add to your pool of picks and prospects, but I think that the team, has other things that are a little bit more important that they're kind of going after.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's going to be something that we talk about probably for a long time, especially if they're close to that bubble or, if they just barely miss the playoffs, was it worth it? All that sort of thing. But that's the stuff the front office is going to have to be weighing, and it's not just going to be on them. There's going to be ownership and larger team concerns they have to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. Got a super chat here from Dave. Another one from Dave. Appreciate it, Dave. Coming in big here before Turkey Day tomorrow. Dundertaker taking it in his own hands was badass, in my opinion. But I felt that goal and it was a beauty. Dundertaker, I think he needed it. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, and I talked about it earlier, RJ. It's probably not great that they keep relying on the defenseman to step up and be the offense for this team, but it shows that Vince Dunn has that ability.
He does. I mean, but look at the salary structure on this team. That's how this team is built. They're paying the defensemen. That's kind of where your money is really going, is to these players. And so it's good that they're stepping up, because if they're not, you don't have a whole lot really of star power in your forward group. And I mean, I'm glad Dunn's capable of that. I'm happy Montour is capable of that. Montour has been just incredible lately. Like, I'm starting to actually get on board with the Montour Team Canada hype. Like, I think if the scouts are watching, like, I really do think he's kind of earning his way potentially onto that roster, because he's been excellent in both ends of the ice too. Dunn's been a little more up and down, but Montour's been incredible.
No, I definitely think he's earned a spot there, and I hope that he's able to earn one. And I'd love to watch Brandon Montour in the Olympics. Like, I think he would just be so fantastic, especially on the maybe a little larger ice surface. Could be nice. Although I think they standardized it now.
It's NHL, yeah.
Yeah, but boring.
He'll still be good on it.
He'll still be good on it, but we know he already is. What's my guy Cartier got to do to get a chance at playing more minutes? Skates with purpose and physicality. Swap him and Marchment and let him add some muscle to the Matty B line. Your thoughts on Ty Cartier, RJ, and how he's been playing?
I mean, I like the consistency from Ty Cartier. He's doing his thing night in, night out. You know exactly what he's going to bring. Although I think the player that he is and what he's going to bring consistently is probably best suited for a bottom six role. If you're moving him up, it's probably because somebody else is underperforming. And I know you're probably saying, well, yeah, there's guys underperforming every night that you could move down. And we have seen Lane Lambert do that, particularly early in the season. He moved Ty Cartier up at certain times. But I think still, like, as long as most of the wingers are healthy, it's just going to push Cartier down to a bottom six role. And I do think in those higher matchups, he's not as much of a difference maker compared to when he's out there against other fourth liners, where I think he can consistently win those matchups. And I do think that's where he helps you the most.
Right. There is something to that where it's, you're looking for them to win the matchups that they're going to face. It's not so much just about, it's not a linear progression as far as what somebody's able to do on the fourth line against other fourth liners versus then when you move them into the top six and what they're able to do against other top six players in the National Hockey League. It is not like this kind of one for one where you can just do that. And I think that he is definitely one of those guys where it just does not quite track. I mean, we talked about this last year when he was just kind of inconsistent getting playing time at all, getting in the lineup, right? He has a certain ceiling to him, and really that ceiling is a fourth liner. There is just not that much more to go from him from a skills standpoint and what he's able to do, winning those battles and all of that. And so I think it's just one of those where him, Ryan Winterton, and to an extent Ryan Winterton at least kind of has more of a skills ceiling to him. And I think that's why we've seen him move up the lineup a lot this year in ways that, and just playing on the right side has also kind of made those opportunities a little bit more readily available this year because of injuries to Capo Caco. But yeah, I just think it's one of those things where, Ty is good in the spot that he's in, and I don't know that you want to mess with it too much.
No, not really. I mean, you see the difference at upside too in just their draft pedigree. Undrafted guy versus third rounder in Winterton, and but he could be a really useful player in that spot. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. Like again, he's beating the odds. Like we should be happy that he's there. This got a couple torrent questions. This one from Chuck. Do you guys know if and when the torrent will be having public practices? My guess is, based on everything that we've been getting from them, that there will not be public practices, Chuck, really ever. That's kind of the idea. We've asked about it, and at least in the short term, that is not something that is planned. I don't know how much of that is a torrent thing versus the league thing. Like a lot of the stuff that is being decided by the PWHL because they own and operate all of these teams. But I would not be holding my breath for it. That being said, they're always around on rinks 1 or 2 at KCI, and there are very easy ways to watch those rinks. So if you want Starbucks or to sit at 32 Bar and Grill sometime, you could probably, you could effectively watch practice, but it's not going to be in an official capacity.
Yeah, I think that's probably your best bet, best way. Or, I mean, you can come down to that room just outside of Rink 1 and kind of look from ice level a little bit. It's not the best view, but you could do it.
I was going to say, if you want to be like actually below ice level, like a tiny bit almost, when you factor in the boards and everything, but you want to see one corner of the ice very well, you could stand in the atrium, yes. And then this one from Christian. Speaking of the torrent, any comments on the first torrent game? Yeah, super pumped for it. Can't wait to be back here Friday for that first game for the torrent. Was at practice earlier today for them, and you could just tell kind of how much they're using that first game as kind of a gauge for where they were after only having 6 times on the ice together to get ready for that season opener against Vancouver. Communication was not really there in that game against Vancouver, and that's something that they've been working a lot on, especially the D, and especially the fact that Terlova has been out and has not been at these practices. So you have Libdell or Zumwickel coming in on the D. They've been working a lot with communication drills with the other defenders on the team and with the goalies. That's something that obviously head coach Steve O'Rourke wants to really try to get managed a little bit better before the home opener here against Minnesota. And then the other thing for them has just been having cleaner breakouts out of the defensive zone. So many of those grade A opportunities for Vancouver, some of which that they were able to capitalize on, were just bad turnovers, right? Trying to stretch passes a little bit too far into the neutral zone, not really kind of having that intermediate passing game to get out of your own zone and break pucks up the ice. And Vancouver was able just to kind of sit in those spots and just cleanly pick them off. And so I think that they're working on giving their defenders a little bit more of an outlet so that they can get out of the zone cleanly before then they try to get too aggressive, getting pushed up the ice. Standard stuff, especially for like an expansion team and a team that needs chemistry, all that communication, all that kind of stuff. But it was one of those things where like those were the 2 glaring problems from that Vancouver game. And hey, you were still able to get to overtime and all of that, so that's great. But if you don't want to have those issues that you had in that first game, those are the things to clean up.
Yeah, and those are 2 particularly big dangers in the next game as well, just because the team you're playing against certainly knows how to take advantage of those, and and has for other teams to the tune of the championship. So, you want to make sure to get those cleaned up. I mean, it is a little worrying watching Vancouver lose to Ottawa tonight in that game. I don't know how much of that game you saw.
Ugly. It was
bad. It was bad.
It was
so
really
it
bad.
Makes me a little concerned, just like for expansion teams early on right now, just the state of all of that. I think they're going to be fine in the long run, but it does make me a little concerned with a very tough opponent coming up on Friday.
Yes. It's a pretty brutal start to the season where you got to take on the other team that's as good as you are on paper and then take on the back-to-back champion. It's tough. That being said, every time we've talked about it with the team, they view it as a challenge and they view it as a way of, as I said earlier, kind of a benchmark for where they're at and what they need to work on. And that's very much the attitude that head coach Steve O'Rourke is kind of taking with these games. And I think that that's a good way to look at it because, the only other way to look at it is probably to go into it coaching scared. And we know that that is not the way to handle it. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to do a quick last call here for more comments and then we'll get going here after post-game live. RJ,
in the meantime, I do have something. Yeah, I have something to add. I thought it was kind of a funny moment. And of course, not surprised that our buddy Glenn Dreyfus from Davy Jones' locker room had a good question for Lane Lambert to basically kick things off. He said, "Well, I'm trying to remember the way he phrased it. focusing on the most important thing and the positive is that you're alive after that puck
Yeah.
from and Lane was just, like, looking at him like, where are you going with this? But referencing after that puck very early in the game, I had forgotten about it, from Joey Decord, where he kind of cleared it into the bench when the puck got played
Yeah.
down to him. You remember that from earlier in the game.
Yep.
And then Lane did remember that one. Lane said that one was headed right for his head. That one was right on line with his head, but Brandon Montour saved him, saved the day, and he said saved his life. So that's really nice. But he said last game Montour, I guess, like bumped into him on the bench, like hit him on the bench accidentally, of course. And he's like, and I've got the black and blue mark to show for it. So, but then Monty saved my life tonight. So I think it's even plus minus there on the coach saves for Brandon Montour.
That is quite the experience there. Back-to-back moments and everything. That is pretty funny. Yeah, well, and I guess it sounds like, though, maybe Glenn starting off the question like that isn't too out of left field. If Lane was openly admitting it was coming right for him.
Yeah, no, definitely. I didn't catch it as well in the moment to see kind of where it was headed. I mean, you got to be really eagle-eyed for that one, but Glenn was on top of it.
Yeah, that is funny. Good on Monty. Another reason to love the guy, right? He's saving lives out there. Super chat here from Garrett. Thank you very much, Garrett. Appreciate the super chat. Do you think the Kraken most likely not having anyone play those extra high intensity Olympic games could be advantageous injury wise down the stretch, RJ?
In short, yes. I think, look, if your only interest is the Kraken winning hockey games this season, you should be rooting for none of them to make the Olympics. It may be Molgard just for development or something, but none of the regulars on the roster to make it. The rest is better for these guys than continuing to play. And especially like for someone like Joey Decord to have that break in the middle of the season before the stretch run, that would be huge. And I think it could be a big advantage versus some other teams that'll have guys. Look, there's going to be at least one major injury to an NHL player in the Olympics. We just know it's going to happen. Don't know who, but the fewer Kraken are in it, the less chance it's one of them.
Yeah, definitely. Last question here. Power play. Are the players executing the system poorly, or is the system ineffective?
The power play, look, I like what the coaches have done with it by and large over the course of this season. So I'm happy with the system and everything. I just think the execution maybe isn't what they wanted tonight. And also, I think you turned to me one moment during the game after the Kraken failed a couple power play chances, and you're like, well, the Stars knew the one chance they didn't want to give up, the one look they did not want to allow. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's kind of what the Kraken were looking for. Like, the Stars watched their tape.
Yeah. So I'll go back to kind of what I said at the beginning of Postgame Live, which is, look, I think a lot of it tonight was down to Jared McCann working back into the lineup, the chemistry getting the puck to Jared McCann getting recalibrated. He missed the net on his early one-timer opportunities. And that's just something that I think if he had been playing, he probably doesn't do. And when it comes to that, them understanding like, okay, teams are going to take that one-timer from Jared McCann seriously in a way that when Jared McCann and Yanni Newman are not in this lineup, none of these PKs are selling out to stop a feed over there. Because, who's been sitting over there? Like Berkeley Catton, right? Like Berkeley Catton does not have quite the one-timer that Jared McCann does. And so I think it's one of those things where as Jared McCann sits there and as he proves that he is a dangerous shooter on the power play, you're going to see teams sell out to stop moving the puck over to him, which then opens up what I was talking about earlier, where the Kraken can then very easily have 3-on-2 opportunities down low. I do trust this coaching staff to start recognizing that and to start working on plays for it. But it's one of those things where like the progression from getting Jared McCann right and back into true game form, so that then he starts scoring on the power play, and then other teams really start taking him out of it, and then you go to that next evolution, and it's that constant back and forth battle. You're just looking at realistically 2 weeks, if not maybe even more time, for all of that to play out and for you to kind of have some sprinkled power play success in there as that stuff happens. So I think that it's one of those things where it just takes time for it all to come together. But I think Jared McCann coming back disrupted the power play tonight, but in the long run is going to be something that is very, very beneficial for it.
Yeah, and I was a little surprised to see him right back there on the power play. I mean, not really, because he's your best scorer, but without a whole lot of practices in the meantime, I think, I agree. It's just going to take time.
Yeah, definitely. Dave with the super sticker here, and we'll go out on that. Appreciate that, Dave. Appreciate all the super chats from you and from everybody in this one. And appreciate the happy Thanksgiving messages here down here at the bottom, and everybody saying they're thankful for us. Really appreciate that. It means a lot.
And we're thankful for you. I mean, like I said on the Armchair GM show, I've got a great many blessings in my life, but one that I think about all the time is this awesome community that we have. So very thankful for all of you, and I hope you have a great Thanksgiving.
Definitely. And we're, of course, very thankful that Queen Anne Beer Hall has been with us all of these years as our wonderful sponsor for these post-game lives, and cannot wait for that next meetup on December 4th. Hopefully,
2
we'll
games
get a better
away.
game. Yeah, it's only 2 games away. It's crazy how fast December is already upon us. November melted away. Like, it's just gone.
Really did.
It's crazy. But huge shout out to them for sponsoring as always. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us, and we will see you all next time.